Hello everybody, welcome back to Throttle Grotto. This week we are unboxing a new tool in the shop. You guys may have seen it leaning up against the wall over there for a shameful amount of months. But I decided today is the day. I'm going to take the Quickjacks out of the box and I'm going to put them underneath the Rabbit to get it up in the air. So that is today's project, getting the Rabbit up in the air so I can get the turbo out so I can index it. Well, anyway, stay tuned. Alright, so the Quickjack, when you buy it, it comes in 3 boxes. One giant box that has the pump mechanism, which I already unpacked and unloaded all of that. And then up on the shelf there, I have some of the rubber pads that go underneath the car when you lift it. And then the 2 boxes that have the actual Quickjack mechanisms in. Alright, one of the fortunate things about the internet world that we live in is all of these instructions are pretty easy to get. I went to the Quickjack website, downloaded a copy of the instructions onto my phone, and now I'm set to go. So, not a big deal that they weren't in the box. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unpack all these components and lay them out, and then we'll go through them, and I'll show you what I've got to work with. Alright, so by no means am I an expert on setting up these Quickjacks, but I have one thing that some other people don't, and that's the desire to read the instructions before I mess it up. So when you take your Quickjacks out of the box, first thing you want to do is just lay them out on the floor. And you want to lay them out so that the locking bar, which is over here, I almost dropped my camera, that would have been horrible. The locking bar over here is to the outside. So the next step is to prepare the hoses. We have both short and long hoses, and they are very obvious as to which ones are which. As you can tell, those are the short ones, those are the long ones. So we need to get into this kit right here, which is where all of our quick connect fittings are. And we need to install those and these 90-degree fittings into the Quickjack housing with some Teflon tape. So all of that is included and ready to go. I still need to read what this little bumper is. I think it's an extra wheel. That's what it looks like to me, is an extra wheel in case you mess up one of the wheels on the Quickjack. You have an extra wheel and a little rubber bumper to go somewhere. So it's kind of nice that they actually sent an extra wheel. Alright, so the next step is to install these hydraulic fittings into the Quickjack assembly, and you don't want to use any Teflon tape on these, and that's according to the directions, not me. So let's get these installed, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is prepping the short hoses for attachment. It says in the instructions if you lift the Quickjack frame up that you can get clearance to thread that elbow in, and you'll probably need to do that. So I just took one of the small rubber blocks, lifted up the frame, and then put it in between the frame to hold it up out of the way. Be careful though, because if your hand is on the lock bar side, you can pinch it pretty good just setting this thing back down, because it's still kind of heavy. Alright, so the next step is we're going to attach these short hoses to the actual cylinders on the Quickjack. Now you don't use tape on this end. Remember when it said earlier in the instructions, don't use any Teflon tape on either side of the elbow. So this actually has a compression fitting in there. I'll see if I can get you to see it. There you go. So it's got a tapered fitting in there which matches up to the taper on the other end of that elbow. So let's install these, and then I'll show you how to run the hoses underneath the jack assembly so you don't pinch them. And just a quick note, make sure that when you're doing the short hoses that you actually do this end. This is the female end with the plug on it, not the female quick connect. So this is the female to male quick connect, goes on the end of the short hose. So the next step is to put all 4 of the female quick release threaded fittings onto your long hoses. Step in setting up your quick jacks is to pressurize the air cylinders. Now the pressure needs to be 40 to 50 psi in the air cylinders. So most of us have a compressor in the garage, but if you don't have a compressor, you can actually use like a bicycle pump. It doesn't take a lot. 40 psi is pretty easy to do. If you even had a little hand pump, it wouldn't be a lot of fun, but you could do it with a hand pump. I'm going to do it with my floor pump just because I want to show that you can do it that way. So the big thing to remember, don't go over 50 psi. That's a bad thing for these when they're all the way down. So I'm going to go grab my floor pump and then we'll pump. Alright, so the next step is to install the fittings on the hydraulic power unit. And should be the only 2 male fittings you have left. These 2 right here. It's easier to see if I hold it up that way. So since these have an O-ring on this end, they don't get installed into the power unit with any Teflon tape. They just get threaded in. It also says in the instructions to install the bottom one first because sometimes it's difficult to get to the bottom one if you put the top one in first. So let's thread these in and check out the next. The next step now is to actually fill the reservoir here on the pump assembly. And I was looking to see how much it takes. So you need about 2 quarts of ATF, and it says here there's a whole list of these approved fluids that are in the instructions. I don't know if you'll be able to read them. There you go. Whole list of approved fluids for these things. So I'm going to see what I have in my cabinet because I have a bunch of hydraulic fluids like ATF and stuff like that, but I might have to run to the store and actually get a couple quarts. So either way, next I'm going to fill the reservoir. Okay, so before you use the unit, this is the breather cap. You have to make sure that you loosen it about a half a turn, just so that the suction doesn't crush your tank. So if you're gonna put it back on the shelf for a while, snug it back up. So super easy, nothing complex. Just make sure that you remember to tighten it if you're gonna move the unit around and loosen it before you use it. So now that all that's done, we're practically ready to lift. Next step is to hook the long hoses to the short hoses we hooked up earlier. We do that through these quick connect fittings. Now these quick connect fittings, they actually go on and then they twist. So when they engage, you actually have to twist them to lock them into position. So you want to remember to do that, because otherwise you might have a little bit of a mess. These are I believe these are supposed to keep most of the hydraulic fluid in when you disconnect, but always be prepared that you may lose a little bit of hydraulic fluid when you disconnect these and move them around. So here is the locking piece I was telling you about. So when they engage, you can turn the collar so that the little ball bearing, then you can't disconnect it. So in order to disconnect it, you need to turn the collar to where it lines up with the ball bearing, and then you can disconnect the Quickjack, the hoses. Alright, so we've connected our lines to the Quickjack pump housing. The only thing that I had left to do was mount these little rubber blocks. They're basically lift blocks, and they space your car up off of the metal frame of the Quickjack. Now, if you wanted to get really fancy, you could probably make like a little wooden cradle or something for these to sit in, or you could use blocks of wood. They also sell ones that are modified for your pinch welds, so if you want to put your pinch weld, you got a big groove in them for your pinch welds. I ordered a set and I think I lost them, so that's what I get for not taking this stuff out of the box sooner. So the only thing left to do, other than mount the handles on the other end, which I haven't done yet, I'm kind of running out of time before I have to go to work tonight. So I'll set this block in the tray here, and they just set down in the tray of the Quickjack, and you can put it in either one of the trays there. So the only thing left to do today is plug it in and try it out. Alright, so there you have it. The Rabbit is finally up on the Quickjacks, which means that it's in my face, and I got to start working on it. So I know I'd like to drive the Datsun soon, but I decided to pull the Rabbit ahead and get this thing on the road because it has been way too long. So even though the Datsun's been off the road longer, I know you guys want to see the Rabbit, so it's in my face. It's ready to go. So look for more Rabbit videos coming soon, and I'm almost out of battery. Alright everybody, so the Quickjacks have worked out great today. I'm just shutting a couple extra lights off here. Alright, so the car is up on Quickjacks. I've been working on it a little bit today. It's kind of nice having it right out here in front. One thing I did is I went and bought a plastic box so I can put the pump, and then when I'm not using it, I can wrap up all the lines and put everything inside of the box, and it'll keep all the dust and dirt off of it. So hopefully there's going to be a lot more Rabbit videos coming soon. I even worked on these for a little bit, and I'll let you guys ponder what these are actually for. But it's one of the things I've been thinking about doing on this car for a while. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, get out there and work on something.